I am so blessed this morning to have the opportunity to interview a grandma. Her name is Norma Hawkins. She's not only a grandmother, but she's a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, of course, a sister, and a single mom. I was very impressed with this for 43 years, owned three homes, but lost one to foreclosure. I couldn't believe your past employment, mail clerk, telephone operator, advertising account executive, property manager, and then currently Mary Kay, right? Independent beauty consultant. And before we start, what was your commute? I couldn't believe your commute one way.
2.5 to 3 hours.
I was telling my daughter that because in Hawaii, we're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take us 20 minutes to get there. And I was telling her that's like 5 to 6 hours just commuting, which
Yes,
shows, I mean, just your resilience, your tolerance, patience. I mean, I would love to hear you share tips as a grandmother while being a parent to your adult children. You have, how many children do you have?
just one, my daughter.
One. That's right, because I'm an only child too. And we talked about how just the challenges and it's rewarding, but let us hear any suggestions, tips, experiences you have raising. In a way, we were always raising, right? I've heard that no matter how old your child is, you will be your, right? You're still a baby at 55. You're still a baby.
Yes, true. It's true.
So
We
how old is
never
your daughter?
stop being a parent. She was born in 73.
Oh, okay. My husband was born in 72, so very close in age.
Okay.
And so what is your, I think your number one tip and maybe your number one challenge raising or interacting with an adult child who is also, the mother of your grandchild?
I think the number one tip is even though she's my only child and my daughter, and I want to treat her like a child and be a parent to a child, it is important to remember that she is an adult and that she has a responsibility to herself, to her family, and then, of course, a responsibility to me with living in her home. And I just always wanted to keep ever present in my mind that she wasn't a child, she was an adult, and that I had to treat her that way with love and affection and knowledge that I've gained through the process of living my life, and hope I could pass some really important information on to her and it's received in the manner in which I intended.
I think you just hit on a really good point because my mom always treated me like a child, even as a mother. Did you put socks on her? Did you make sure that you put her car seat correctly? And I thought, I'm a mother, but I think she forgot, or maybe it's just a default. So how did you do that? I think that's so challenging to remember that she is an adult because don't you sometimes see her as, the toddler that she was or that little girl that she was?
Absolutely. Like your mother, I did the same things. I would look at things and make suggestions that were irrelevant. Certainly, she was smart enough to do them herself, but the mother in me, talking to my child, would always say those things. And then after I said them, I could kick myself because I would say, good gosh, girl, you don't think she knows to put the children in the seat? You don't think she knows that it's time to give them dinner? You don't think she knows it's time to send them to bed? So it's difficult not to do those kinds of things, but by the same token, when I make those kinds of mistakes, I really do try to correct and try not to do them as often as I had done when I first started the process when I was living with them, and make sure that I respected her parenting ways that are different from probably my parenting ways, and let her be the mother. I can be the grandma and love and play and do all the things a grandma's supposed to do with my grandchildren, and let her take over the role of parent. And I just try to keep myself in the role of grandma.
And what is that role?
My role as grandma was to protect my grandchildren, to give them advice based on my age and experience that my daughter hasn't come to yet in her life, and also to let my grandchildren know they're loved by me,
Mm-hmm.
that I want only the best for them. And when I have to give them guidance and direction through a method of criticism or chastising them for a wrongdoing, that it comes from love. And then I try to also show them consequences of their actions. Something I did quite a bit with my daughter, that everything has a consequence. And I want them to understand that it is from love that I'm telling them this. And I want them to appreciate what I'm doing and what I'm saying, and not be upset.
Is that challenging? How do you handle when they do, when they are upset with, you're sharing words of wisdom? I often find myself like that's when frustration starts because you're just trying to offer a loving advice, and then all of a sudden it's not received well. Any advice for me?
Well, my thing is, and it comes from my mom, whenever my mom wanted to um, bring me down and calm me down from, I call it my little rebellion to her rules, she'd always take me and put me on her lap and hug me. That's the first thing.
Wow.
And then let me go through that. And then
Yes.
after I went through that and I was calm and I was in a more loving place, she would then explain to me what happened between she and I, why it happened, and what I want for her, uh, meaning my grandchildren, what I want for them as a result of the conversation we're having. And it just, again, emphasized that I love them and this is something for their good
Hmm.
in the future. It may not feel like it's anything right now that you need to hear or want to hear, but one day you will reflect on this conversation and then you will see what grandma was talking about.
Wow. And that probably is received way more positive than I think we tend to do. Or I remember my dad would do the lecture, and you would just immediately close off. I mean, but you would, shake your head and act the right way. But I think that closes off when you have a grandparent say, I love you and allow you, right?
Yes, yes,
Allow you to go through. I think we want to stop that because it's not very pleasant to witness.
right, right. That's correct. It's the last
Wow.
thing we want to do. It's our nature not to want our anybody, no matter who they are, nobody to feel angry with us, nobody to be unhappy with us, and it's only natural that we want to do that. But by the same token, it is something that must be done, because if it didn't have to be done, we wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. And we really have to let people know, and that's adults, children, whatever. We have to let them know where we're coming from, why we're discussing this, why we're having this conversation, and what benefit we see to them as a result of the conversation. And let them know, again, it comes from love. It's not coming from a controlling situation. It's not coming from a dictatorial situation. It's coming from an observation of a path that they may be going down that may not be the best path for them to take, and we're simply giving them guidance.
But I think that's what, I mean, what you just said, it's not coming from like, you're not trying to control, you're not trying to be the dictator. And then I think adult children, or no matter what age the child is, they're more open-minded because they don't feel blamed or criticized. I mean, do you find that that sounds like the magic cure for, this temper tantrum, or especially during those turbulent teen years, which sometimes last, I don't know, maybe through the early 20s, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, do you think when they feel heard and understood? When I asked my 18-year-old, what do you want? And she said, teens just want to be heard and understood. We don't need the lectures. We don't need, and I think, as an educator, I automatically become this, you just want to give the lesson.
Yeah.
And you want to bypass the temper tantrums and bypass all of their, sometimes it's sassiness, or sometimes it's just a anxiety, or like a crying. What would you call it? Just a meltdown.
Yes.
And you just want to stop it. But what you're saying is to allow them to go through it.
Yes. Because that's a part of their self-expression.
Yes.
They're immature yet, and they have not learned techniques for expressing themselves without that. That is what they've done since they were small children.
Right.
When they get to a point that they don't know what to do, they cry, or they get angry, or they stomp off.
Yes.
These are a part of the process of growing and the process of learning. And so, yes, I think we have to let them go through it. But again, we have to let them go through with the guidance of the next step of how not to be this way, but have it done so that they don't feel that we are angry with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just want them to understand that it's a path that they're going down, and we want to have them to self-correct.
So when you say guide them, so I just wanted to have some clarity. So as you're going through their meltdown, are there words that you say that help guide them as do you wait until because sometimes these tantrums can last a while. What do you think can help, not speed up the tantrum, but just, you know what I mean? So that you're not there for hours.
Yeah.
Shortening. Yeah. How can you shorten this very challenging, sometimes frustrating experience for parents? Because, we have our agenda, and it's sometimes feels like it's a nuisance, even though it's not. How do you, because I just had this yesterday. My daughter had this meltdown over balancing college, right, as a freshman, working. And I told her, and I'm in the middle of my stuff. And I said, sometimes I feel helpless. And I tried to do her, life is tough, but, you can get through this. And I knew that her eyes just already, she wasn't having it. And I said, but you know what? But I stopped everything. I did the martyr thing. I stopped everything. And I'm here for you. And then she, of course, went into well, I'm sorry that I'm giving you such a hard time. I'm sorry that, the victim mode. I'm like, no. As a mother, I signed up for this, and I want to be there for you. But at the same time, we can't be having these, I don't think I said we can't have it, but these, I don't know how to handle. I said, I don't know what you want me to say during these episodes where you're, right, you're frantic, or you're frustrated. And sometimes they don't even know, right?
Right.
They don't know. She's like, I don't know. And I thought, well, you know what? And then I think I just said, why don't you just take a bath, do some self-care, because she had an hour to get to work. I said, the goal is to go to work without a red nose and feeling all, so what do you think would work when you're in that kind of a time, you're in a time crunch, but you want to rectify it, but you don't want to feel like you're rushing them?
Exactly. The thing that my grandbabies are young, so they are. When I moved in with them, I had a 2-year-old, and then
Wow.
a year later, I had a newborn. And, so the newborn is now a part of the mix, and the older one, who's only 2, feels neglected because the baby's getting
Yes,
attention.
yes.
And she's always had all of the attention. So that was a new factor that came into the dynamics of our relationship. And I was home with them during the day while the parents worked.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I uh, first used to do is I was kind of overwhelmed with 2 children now.
Yes.
And I would also, become a little irritated. And I would say to the oldest one, you could just go sit over there and let me change the baby's diaper, and then I'll deal with you in a minute. But I soon learned that that was not helping my case with her at all. So what I have learned to do as a result of this is I really made the realization the baby's diaper can wait. It's not an emergency, Norma. But this is her having this little episode. She really does need to know that someone is paying her attention, and I think that's all she really wanted. So again,
Mm-hmm.
my thing is putting her on my lap, giving her a big hug, and saying to her, "What's wrong with my Ayuko? What's got my baby so upset with grandma? Can grandma fix it?" And then she would tell me, and it was always the baby, my paying attention and not paying attention to her. So what I started doing for her to have a grandma and me time is I like to paint. So I bought a lot of acrylic paint, inexpensive ones and inexpensive brushes and some canvases. And then every day at a certain time, we would do arts and crafts. She and I, when the baby
Wow.
was napping. And so when we did that, we would talk. I would ask her a question. You know, how's Miss Ayuko today? What do you think about this color? What do you think about this? I would ask her a lot of questions. And as I started asking questions, we would zero in on, I always call them the concerns of her heart. And
Concerns of the heart. I love that.
it was always something different, always something for me as an adult. I'm thinking, what's the big deal? But
Exactly.
a little 2-year-old, it was gigantic. So I would, talk with her, and we would go through it, and I would explain to her that she was 2 and she could go to the potty by herself, and she could get herself a glass of milk, and she could get fruit from the refrigerator. But Aya couldn't. Aya was just a baby, and everything that Aya need, grandma, daddy, and mommy had to do for her. And even on occasions, Ayuko has to do for her. I said, so it's not that we don't want to care for you. By no means. We love you and we want to care for you more than anything in this world. But you also have to understand there's another human that needs us. And we don't give it all the attention. I said, look at us. We're sitting down doing painting, and we're
Mm-hmm.
just chit-chatting and talking. Aya is nowhere around. It's all you, Ayuko. It's all you. And we have a lot of these all you times, and we just have to. I said, I have an idea. Let's make a chart, put it on the bathroom door, and I'm going to give you stars. And it's going to have categories: me time, Aya time, no time.
Oh no, I just lost your volume.
You're that way. So you just put a star if it's because you're not getting me time. or it's Aya time. And then we'll see where we can fix it. I said, how does that sound? Oh, Grandma, that's perfect. And
Wow.
we just had to go through a whole process of, you know, where she's not feeling like I'm attacking her.
Yes.
And I did that by deflecting that with the painting. So that's how I worked it out with her. And I did the same when her sister got older.
How old are they now?
8 and 5.
Wow. You know, when you think about it, that process can work with any age. You know, I told Chelsea, and you know, when you come home from work, we can go for a drive. But what happened was that I was so exhausted. And around 9 o'clock, she's like, Mom, what happened to that drive? But I just said, you know
Yeah,
what? I am so sorry, but maybe another time, you know, and then I had to release the guilt that I reneged it. But I almost wanted to say I didn't promise you, but then I thought, you know, it's, you know, you just make a suggestion and they
yeah,
take it
yeah.
as it will happen. But I just said I am just so tired, Chelsea, and you know, we can do it another time. And then that's where I think sometimes parents, I heard someone say, no matter how tired they are, they'll do it, no matter how tired and frustrated. And I felt really guilty. And I thought maybe it's different for everyone. I mean, do you think that we need to sacrifice sometimes our own? I mean, sometimes it's like your own mental health, you know, if you, and sometimes do you think that they need to learn maybe that disappointments happen, you know, otherwise, what do you think about that as we close?
I um I really try to keep promises that I make.
Yeah.
I do.
And so that's why I made sure that I didn't say I promised, but I knew that
Yeah,
she was looking forward to it.
yeah,
And I think I'm going to talk to her about it today. That it wasn't because when I was sleeping, and she goes, Mom, you said that we're going to go driving, and I said, you know, I'm just so tired, but yeah, I'm very careful in not saying I promise because yeah,
right.
I was taught by my parents. I mean, always keep your promises. But I
Yeah,
think kids, no matter how old they are, if you say something, even if you don't say I promise, and I try very hard, but you know, at 9 in the morning, you're like, yes, we're gonna do this, and then at 9 at night,
no way.
I just thought, you know, and I think she understands. I mean, I think the older they get, they realize, you know, we have like a lot of stress, a lot of, you know,
Yeah,
but I just, you know, I've learned a lot. I mean, it's amazing how I think practicing that simple process and helping, right, no matter how old they are, you just
yes,
help them kind of like guide them. And it sounds like just questioning, have them just feel understood and important
yes.
by just asking questions.
I think the questions make them think.
Yes.
It makes them think, why am I acting like this? What is going on with me? Why do I behave this way? Why? And those why questions then make their brain engage, and then they can understand their feelings as opposed to me trying to make them understand their feelings based on me understanding what they're going through, which I could totally be off the track.
Exactly. So it's almost like self-reflection questions
Yeah,
that make them think, and they probably learn how to problem solve at a younger age,
yeah,
right? When you keep like training them with self-reflection rather than telling them, you know, why are you doing this? It's just
yeah,
such a silly little thing. You know, you're getting all upset over nothing. And I think sometimes we do minimize it because, you know, we understand, you know, it's just a grade, it's just a quiz, it's just a lollipop they can't have. But to them, it is the world, right?
yeah, yes, that's
Well,
correct.
thank you. So I know you're really busy, but thank you so much for your time. It
You're
meant
quite
the
welcome.
world to me. I'm glad we were able to connect. I'm thankful
Yes,
that Alexis brought us together.
I am too. I am too. Thank you. I
Thank you.
hope
And you have a great day.
you too.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right.
Okay,
Bye bye.
bye.